All right, here we go. Woo. Could be that I took it on an empty stomach. You know, people are taking these instead of Ozempic.
You're taking what?
Zins.
So there's gonna be a bunch of skinny fuckers running around.
It suppresses your appetite. So people are taking it. They call it Ozempic.
Also, naked pictures do that.
Ozempic.
If you take a picture of yourself and put it on the fridge naked, you won't eat.
I guess. Here we go.
Telling you.
3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Mitch Hall Chevrolet in Haskell, Texas, where I buy all my vehicles. Jeff Stanfield. I am Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
That was very aggressive for.
I'm fired up.
I can tell. Holy
It's fucking
shit.
Saturday. We ain't got to watch fucking girls play basketball on the Olympics because Caitlin Clark didn't get included. So all them other lesbians are on their own. We've got 2 gentlemen on that almost died in the Gulf of Mexico.
Trump has a mistrial, maybe.
Well, maybe a mistrial, and the Trump deal will be double jeopardy, so they can't charge him again. Life is good. Fuck the Democrats. Welcome to the show, guys. We've got on with us today Stephen Maulding and Easton Barrett from Biloxi, Mississippi. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Did I fuck up the intro? Did I get everybody's names right? Because that's where I usually screw this whole show up.
You nailed it.
I don't do that. I don't do that very often. We're talking about weight loss. Andy's on Zins. He says he's losing weight because it suppresses his appetite. Says it's better than Ozempic. I say if you're a fat ass like me, take a naked picture, put it on the fridge. Every time you open up the fridge, get something to eat, you see your fat naked self there. You don't want to eat shit. Works out real well.
I don't mind. I'm still gonna eat. I like food.
Or you take a picture of some hot naked chick that you're dating if you're in your 20s and you put her picture up there and say, I'm not going to get none of that no more if I don't lose some weight. So that'll help you also.
It might work.
I had 2 friends of mine that got divorced and they both lost a lot of weight. And my preacher asked me one time, he goes, why do you think they've lost all this weight? You know, now that they're single, I said, well, they'd like to have sex again. Common sense.
Yeah. I finally get to do it.
Yeah.
I'll probably do it.
Preachers don't look at things the way I did. He goes, made a little bit of sense. I said, see there? You got to don't have to always be pure. So gentlemen, y'all got a hell of a story. Y'all both fish and y'all were fishing in a snapper tournament. Is that correct?
Correct.
And y'all were out. How deep was the water y'all were at?
Somewhere between 110 and 120 foot. The last time I got a look at the sonar.
Was it your boat? Your dad's boat?
It was my dad's boat. Yep.
Well, I bet he was proud, wasn't he?
Pursuit with, yeah, he I don't know. He's got some mixed feelings. He's glad we're back, but he had a lot of money tied up in that thing, and we were looking forward to getting a lot of use out of it this year.
I was just looking forward to winning the snapper tournament.
Yeah, we were gonna win that tournament. We had some spots and some hammers on it. We were gonna take the money home. That was a boat sinking kind of ruined that for us.
What was that going to pay?
Well, the tournament, so it was 3 categories: cobia, mangrove snapper, and red snapper. First place of each of those paid $5,000, but we also bought into the Calcutta for every one of those. I don't know if you won just the snapper category, you're probably looking at taking between the boat taking 10, 20 grand home, something like that.
So tell us the story of the morning. How'd the morning go?
Yeah, because y'all were 30, 40 miles offshore. So how long had y'all been going that direction?
It's a little tricky because from where we left from, we were probably 30-ish, 32 miles offshore. If you went due south of the closest land, we were probably 18, 19 miles offshore. But the morning started, kind of like any old morning. If you're going offshore fishing, go out, you catch bait. After you catch bait, you head to the reefs. And we left the dock about 6 o'clock, 6:15, something like that. We got to the north side of Petty Boy Island, which if y'all are familiar with the coast, there's a bunch of barrier islands. You got Petty Boy, you got Sand Island, you got Horn Island, and you got Ship Island, and you got Cat Island. Those all barrier the coast, and they're about anywhere between 7 and 12 miles to get to those. So we were on the north side. We caught bait from I'd say 6:45 to right at 8 o'clock or 7:50,
Yeah,
we were like, all
right.
right, when 8 o'clock hits, if we've got 50 baits, if we've got 150 baits, we're leaving at 8 o'clock. We've got enough live bait, we got enough cut bait. We're gonna head on out. And we left there right at 8, and let's see, from there we went between there's a pass between Patty Boy and Horn Island. We went through the pass right there, and then once we got through that pass, we put our first coordinate in, and the first coordinate was reading 26 miles or 27 miles, something like that. And at that point, it was a little sporty out there. It wasn't anything that you shouldn't be in, but it wasn't slick glass either, like we prefer it to be. We took a couple waves fairly hard, and we all looked at each other and said, hell with this. We don't want to get wet. We got all day. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. Let's just slow it down and get out there. So we slowed down. We're running like 15 to 18 knots, and the waves were like a 3 to 4 second wave period, which if y'all are familiar with that means that it's rough as hell, even if it's only 2 footers, because the waves are just constantly back to back to back, versus if you had 10 footers and you had a 12 second wave period, you would just go up and down and up. It was boom, 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 constant. So we slowed down, cruising. We weren't getting beat, we weren't getting sprayed. So that tells you if you're not getting wet, you ain't getting beat too bad. But we went over one reef at like 80 foot of water. This is like probably 15 miles into the venture. I think 80 foot of water, went over one reef. We thought we saw something on the sonar, so we stopped and we turned around and we idled around for a minute looking for what that might have been. Turned out to be nothing. Everything was good at that point. Everything was fine. We idled, slowed down. We're going slow. The boat wasn't sinking at all. So we got back up on plane, and we were back up 15, 18 miles an hour. We were about 4 miles from our coordinate, and I had a strike lines chip on my GPS, and what that is it's a 3D scan of the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico. So it shows rocks, it shows ships, it shows anything that's on the bottom. It shows all kinds of shit. And right off of our heading was, we were going southeast, and right off of that heading, we saw what looked to be some kind of large rectangular thing on the strike line chip. So we're like, let's go check that out. We're in 100 foot water. There's probably some fish on that. We'll just check it out since we're going to pass it. And it was like, when I say it was, it was a veer off of our path. It wasn't out of the way at all. But veered over there, and when we got to it, we slowed down to let the bottom reader do its job. And we idled for I'm going to say, honestly, I can't remember how long, because a lot of shit happened very fast from what I'm about to tell you happened. Very fast, and I don't remember a shitload of it because it was overwhelming and terrifying. So we slowed down to an idle, and all 5 of us were standing at the center console watching the bottom reader, just, hoping that it was going to blow up with fish. And we may have idled 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and then a motor alarm went off. And we look back, and immediately everybody goes, oh, fuck, we're sinking. And I stepped to the back of the boat because we still had one motor on at that point. The back right motor, which is the one that was going under fastest, it was off. And my thoughts were, let me get some fuel to it. We'll fire it up. We'll get back up on plane, and we'll try to get out of this because we're fucking sinking. Well, I run to the back of the boat. I pump the bubble, thinking we may get some fuel to it and it may fire. And I'm not joking. I pumped the bubble 2 times, and I didn't even get on the transom. I stayed inside the boat to pump the bubble, which the fuel pumps are right on the back left side of the transom. I squeezed that thing 2 times, and fucking Yetis and igloos were floating, hitting me in the legs inside the boat. And at that point, we were like, we're fucked. So at that point, it was get the life vest, get everything. But the main thing everybody was screaming was, get the life vest, get the life vest, get the life vest. So I run to the front of the boat, and everybody's standing right on top of where they're at. And so I open that compartment. I yank everyone I can grab out, and we're just throwing shit in the water at this point because there's no other option. I mean, the boat's going down, and I've seen videos of boats sinking. I've never been on one sinking until obviously then, but shit don't happen like it happened to us. Boats don't sink that fast. We don't know what happened. But boats start going down, and we're throwing life vests in the water. And Connor, one of our employees that was fishing with us, he had his PLB that his girlfriend had sent with him, and it was in a yellow bag, and he knew exactly where it was. And he immediately, he didn't look for life vests, didn't look for anything. He went and got that yellow bag, which, ultimately, I'm going to say there's a 99.5% chance that yellow bag saved our life, to be honest, because without that, with the weather, with the water temperature, it was not going to be good if we had to make it to nighttime.
Hold on, before I'm going to cut you off for a second here. The boat you were in, it's not a center console boat, or it is a center console boat?
It is a center console.
I thought I thought those were supposed to be almost unsinkable.
Dude, I'll be honest with you.
Titanic was supposed to be unsinkable too.
You're 100% correct on that. Yes, but I mean, I've always seen those commercials where they saw one in half and they're both floating and shit. So I mean,
yeah, that's what the crazy thing is that, like, a lot of people on all these posts and stuff we've got and the posts the Coast Guard's putting out, because Coast Guard did a huge story on it, and it's a big deal because they had just, the week before Memorial Day is Boater Safety Week, and that's when the Coast Guard puts out all their really important stuff. So they had just had Boater Safety Week, and as soon as we got back on land, Paul Bernard, who's the head of safety for the Coast Guard, he reached out and was like, we'd love y'all to tell the story, because he says that like 90% of people this happens to want to be like, it didn't happen to me, it never happened. They want to act like it didn't happen, but nobody wants to talk about it. And like we're the total opposite. All 5 of us on the boat is like, we need to get this out there because we almost died, and we could have done things like we did a lot right, but we will be the first to admit we definitely did not have everything prepared. We did not do everything right. The only thing we did do right that we can say we have no question about was when we got in the water, we did all the right things. Like we stayed together. We kept everybody calm. We did have the EPIRB. We had it tied onto my hand. In the video, you can see it tied on my hand. But that stuff we did do right. But as far as like a little bit of preparation, where our safety items were, all that stuff is what could have made our accident a lot less bad.
Being more prepared for what, because we're average boaters, y'all are average hunters. You don't think about, well, this might happen to me. It's like you're really thinking in your head, it's never going to happen. I've been on the boat many a times, multiple boats. It's never going to happen. All of a sudden, boom, it happened to average people that do it all the time. So being prepared is one good thing to do. That's what we should have had done, but we wasn't thinking about the boat sinking. We was thinking about maybe a motor might cut out or something like that.
So what do you mean you weren't prepared? Just because the safety vests were difficult to get to, or what? Like, what do you mean you're not prepared?
They were a little bit, like, we knew where they were,
right?
But they were not like crazy difficult to get to. That wasn't really the problem. It was more like, we had our PLB in a bag in a compartment versus it should have been strapped onto the center console right there where you grab it immediately.
The flares are in the
what's a PLB?
It's a personal locator beacon. Easton's got one right here that ACR sent us.
Actually, we're about to go on a boat here in a little while.
Okay, yeah, I saw that in the video.
Yeah, so that right there is what saved our lives.
You just pull this little antenna out, flip it up, and you hit the little red button right there, and it sends out a location.
Huh. Yeah, it sends it. Actually, when you register this thing, you've got to register it. You register it to like a loved one that's on land that is going to know where you're at, and you register it to the Coast Guard. So when this thing goes off, the Coast Guard gets a response nearly immediately. And that's when they do investigate every single one of these that goes off. And they've got like a 90% false alert rate. But they still go out every single time and check it out.
Hold on,
but yeah, stuff like What was that?
Hold on just a minute. That thing right there, but you have to push the button to get it activated, right? It's the
Yes.
same thing. It
Correct.
flashes. That's the same thing. Hold on. That that's what Ray has on his fucking survival suit he ice fishes in. He's got one of those. His dad made him get.
Right.
Yeah.
His fat ass ain't gonna
Yeah,
fall through a hole in the ice anyways, but that's the same
He
device.
might.
Well,
Yeah, and like I don't know any of you guys that elk hunt or anything that are doing like hiking through the mountains. Like I don't personally do that, but I follow a bunch of pages that do.
Anything.
Like that thing, it needs to be with you. That it's not just for boats. It's for hiking people, hunting people, kayaking, anything you're going to be remote and your phone's not going to work. That right there will save your life. Like if you break your ankle, step off a cliff, break your ankle chasing an elk, and you can't get 12 miles down the mountain, you press that button, someone's got to know where you're at least.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole catch, is that someone's going to get notified, hey, this button was hit and we need to get somebody to check this out, because if we don't, we might not see this person again. So
the big thing about them is when you hit the button, you stay where you're at, which we didn't have that opportunity to stay where we're at because the current was taking us 12 miles.
You're drifting.
We were floating. We were floating 4.5 miles an hour.
but it's got a GPS tracking deal on it, so the Coast Guard can get within 1,000 yards of you probably. Now,
Correct.
whose wife or girlfriend was it that bought this for y'all?
it was Connor, one of our, like I said, one of our employees. His girlfriend Sarah Lowry bought it. Actually, she got it as a Christmas gift from her family, and she sent it with Connor on this trip.
Wow. Poor Connor is the luckiest man in the world, and that's the unluckiest sumbitch in the world, because if he marries her 77 years from now, he's going to fuck up mowing the yard or knock down some azaleas, and she's going to get onto his ass and remind him about that freaking.
I should have never given you that
son of a
POB.
bitch.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
so
Luke.
You're good.
when you push the button, does it have a light that comes on that you know it's that's going? Because I know,
Yes.
Okay, because I know someone's like, make sure that son of a bitch is working.
Is battery charged?
Well, I will take you back to that. The older ones do not. So that's what we was scared about, because we hit the button where Connor hit the button. We didn't know if it was sent. It didn't know. We didn't had no idea. So we're out there floating, hoping and praying to God that somebody's going to come find us. This device is working, but the new ones do, and you can actually test it.
You're gonna have the
Yeah,
Coast Guard show up at the
Yeah,
house.
No, you can, no, it's that little test, but this little screen that it has, I don't know if I can get it on there, but it says sent. So the newer ones will say sent.
How much does that thing
So
cost?
he's like, all right. They're about for this one, I think about $300. But we also, they got us a promo code for people to save money. It's Survivor 10. Because they're not cheap, but your life is a lot more important than.
Fuck yeah.
And you can use this one. I mean, you can use it as many times as you want to in your life. So if you use it, all you do is send it back to them, and they're going to give you a brand new battery. They're going to refurbish, make sure everything's working right on it, take care of you, and they're going to send it back to you.
There's no reason to not have one of those. None.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like this, especially for boaters. Like, I didn't personally own one of those, but I had $5,000 worth of speakers on that boat, and I had $7,500 worth of radar and fucking depth finder and all that shit, and I didn't have a $400 device. I had $4,000 worth of rods and reels.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things, that little device right there cost what one speaker cost. And if you can't justify buying that, then you're just a piece of shit. Now, I previously was a piece of shit because I didn't buy one myself.
Right.
But I can assure you, I will never get on a boat ever again without my own. I don't care if who I'm going with has one. I'm going to have my own.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you this. Coast Guard said this. They said, when one goes off, we go investigate it. But when two goes off, we send the helicopter immediately. So
Right.
if a helicopter had came immediately, man, we wouldn't have been in the water 45 minutes.
You're looking at $419 for one, and I mean, one that you can buy and it's going to last you the rest of your life.
It's a good investment.
If the battery expires on it, you can send it to them and they'll refurbish it.
I bought them. Have you seen those radios that they have? I think they're called active radios, and it's a walkie-talkie, and it goes off cell towers, any cell tower, and it works anywhere in the United States. So I bought 3 of those, and I've got them.
I've been seeing those.
And I've got one in my bag right now that's with me all the time. And in case I'm anywhere I bought it for tornado chasing. In case I get knocked down somewhere out, I can get that on that radio. And I bought Andy one. Of course, he's not ever used it, but I want him to have it too.
But what happens if the cell towers go out?
Well, then we're fucked. But there's a chance that maybe they won't.
Because I mean, if you're tornado chasing and it's that bad, there's a good chance that you just lost cell reception.
But I like to have it also in case something goes wrong. I've got a backup, so I carry it with me in my bag all the time. Tony's got one, and I've got an extra one for Andy. But I bought it for that same reason, just for a safety reason. It was $600 for 3 of them. Well, $400 to go off fucking shore. Me and Andy got stranded offshore last year, but we were in 18 inches of fucking water. We were gonna get fucked to death by mosquitoes is what we were gonna get. We were at Venice, but it would have been nice, and I'm sure the guy had one, our guide. Right. If it dark, it'd have been there, and he could have pushed that, and somebody come found us because we was in the middle of a bunch of cattails. Nobody would have found us. But so you get in the water. And
sound like you're teal hunting.
Yeah,
we were fishing, but we were in the teal hunting areas.
Yeah, we were where they teal hunt. You could see their teal hunting blinds. We were going after gar, weren't we?
If y'all ain't ever done that teal hunt down there, that is dude, that's awesome. That is out there. You're killing. You're not hunting. You're sitting there. I got videos of us teal hunting out there, and they're just flying around us. So we're taking the shells out of the gun because we're already limited out. We was only out there for 30 minutes, and it was 5 of us on a boat.
I don't like mosquitoes, and I don't like gators, so I'll teal hunt in West Texas.
I'm the same way.
So, you get in the water, and in 2 minutes, the boat is gone, right?
Oh, yeah. Less than that.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about 45 seconds to a minute. That boat's completely gone.
The boat was gone, and for maybe, I can't even remember because we were all kind of in shock. But for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, the very, very, very tip where the anchor goes, the very, very tip was still out of the water for for a few minutes. Like I looked over there a couple times and saw the tip, and then the third time I looked over there, it was gone. But as far as something to float on, the boat was gone. There was nothing to float on within a minute. I mean, we grabbed cushions, we grabbed igloo coolers, we grabbed Yeti coolers, we grabbed life vests, everything we could to make ourselves, for one, float, but also if someone flew by or drove by, we were a big ass floating object. That's one of the things I say, we did some things right, and that was one of the things. We grabbed everything that you could possibly see and had it with us.
And y'all stayed together. That's the key.
Yeah.
When you got in the water and your coolers were there, did you have some water or some drinks with you?
That's the main reason why I was hanging on to the coolers, because I wasn't letting them go. I was preparing to be out there for a while. I was hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. I had my big cooler had the water and beer in it, and the little smaller cooler had all the little sandwiches that we got that day. So we knew if it came down to it, that we was going to be at least watered and fed.
That's some
and possibly drunk. We had probably 48 Miller Lights in the cooler.
Depending on how bad this goes, we'll pour.
Now you may.
Well, you know what really sucks about the situation? After you said that, look at the GPS where the boat went down, we was drifting southeast.
Yeah, so we were headed to Cuba.
We was headed to Cuba. And I don't know, but from Alabama to Cuba, that's a lot of water. That's open part. There's no islands. I mean, hell, why couldn't we be in the Caribbean as one of the boats sink? At least we got some islands around there. Be naked and afraid or something.
Naked and afraid.
But just not naked. There's too many guys to be naked with.
So when you get in the water and you've got water in your food, one guy, I know I've been in too many groups of guys, you got that one whiny bitchy guy that's already bitching about his wife's going to be pissed off at him, or I'm hungry or thirsty. Did y'all have anybody bitching and griping? Or was everybody pretty cool?
Not really.
Not really. Initially, I will say, I was like, I need to water out of that cooler, because when I fell in the water, man, that salt water
tastes like
I swallowed a bunch of it, and it was not fun. But I ended up using my spit to get that out of my mouth. And later on, we ended up getting out a couple bottles of water, and everybody.
First of all, y'all, hey, all right, the big igloo cooler was the bait cooler, had all the bait in there.
Oh yeah, this right here was bad.
So once we got in the water, we decided, hey, we got to get rid of all this bait,
right?
Because I mean, we're a floating bait ball, so we got rid of it. And then there was a bag of ice left in there, so they're like, hey, grab me some of that ice, and we'll wash his mouth out. So they get a handful of ice to try to wash the salt water out the mouth. Well, it tastes like
raw squid.
It was just horrible. Just thinking about it, just it was absolutely horrifying.
We were in the water for like probably about 10 minutes before we even fucking realized that we had 250 pounds of squid and pogies. We had the cooler, we had the igloo cooler open, and we were laying on the lid of it, and none of us even realized that right in front of our eyeballs was 200 pounds of raw bait.
All this bait.
So once we realized that, we were like, oh shit, we need to get that as far away from us as possible. So we dump it, and we're trying to like swim away from it. Well, the current and the wind was pushing everything the same direction.
Right. Yeah.
So we for about 45 minutes, we all kind of just slowly kicked our feet like towards the north direction, and that bait ended up keep on going southeast and got far enough away from us that we were. I guess it didn't make a shit if we were comfortable or not, because if a shark wanted us, guess what? We didn't have nowhere to go.
Yeah,
I had a pocket knife. I was going to stab the first one.
I had a pocket knife too. We had a pistol as well, but
we all stayed calm. We stayed together. We didn't freak out.
There was no point in freaking out.
Freaking out's not going to do anything to us. When we did see the boats coming by, that's when we kind of freaked out. And I'm like, dude, we got to stick together. Y'all, one person or two people yell or whatever, but we got to stay together, because we stopped for a second and yell, and we was just 3 foot away from each other, and out there 3 foot, and that's 3 foot right here don't seem bad, but when you're in that water and you got that current, 3 foot is hell when you're trying to swim back.
Right.
To get back with each other.
That's why they always say have a whistle with you. And you're like, why the fuck do I need a whistle? That's exactly why right there in the water, a fucking whistle would be nice to have.
But can anybody hear anything over the motors or anything? Like as the boats are going by, like they're not going to hear a scream.
No, you just got to get lucky.
No, that was the deal. We didn't realize how loud the Coast Guard boat was till we got on it, but it's powered by two 850 horsepower Detroit diesel jet motors. So that joker is loud. And when they were fairly close to us, we fired 3 shots of the pistol up in the air, somewhat in their direction, hoping they'd hear it, and they didn't hear it. But once we got on the boat, I very quickly realized, why they didn't hear it. That boat is extremely loud.
Did y'all have any fish? I'm assuming that big mash, you had some little fish that got up under you. Did that happen?
Yeah.
Did you have any?
We had a weed line come through us at first. As we were sitting there, we had a weed line come through, and that's what you want to fish, a tie line and weed line. You want to fish that because the little smaller baits get up in there, and that smaller baits attracts the bigger bait. So there for a little bit, kind of towards the end of it, we was having stuff. I had something grab a hold of my knee, which I don't know what it was, but there was shit touching us left and right, and it was freaking me out. And then Stephen over here is like a little cat on the cooler, because he had the small cooler. His legs wrapping around it. I'm like,
yeah. So every time somebody would say, so I had the little tan Yeti, and I had a life vest on. I had a life vest under my crotch too, and I had the small little 20 quart Yeti. And every time somebody be like, something touched me, I was holding it like this. Well, I would just lean back and let my feet come up to the top of the water, wrap my legs around it. So if they're going to eat me, they're going to bite my ass while they bite my toes. I don't want my toes getting chopped off.
You know,
but,
so how big of a grab was it? You said something grabbed your knee. Like, was it a big pull, or was it just
something like nibbling?
It's just like nibbling, which I don't really care if you're it's out there in 100 foot of water floating around. If it's a little nibble or a big nibble, it's all the same to me. I don't like stuff touching me in the water. I absolutely hate it. And then we was kind of getting used to the people's feet, because we're all together and something touched me. I'm like, hey, that was my foot or whatever. But the guy that was sitting beside us, Dusty, one of the guys that was in the boat, he actually had an eel grab a hold of him, and he grabbed the eel and it wrapped around his arm. He was like choking the damn thing out. Wasn't trying to bring it up to freak anybody out, because we was already freaked out. So after it finally let go, he let go of it, and it was it wasn't a good day.
Fucking eel.
Yeah, a little eel. He said it bit him in the belly, and he grabbed it.
That.
And he told us at the end, once we got on the Coast Guard boat, he told us about it. He was like, I wasn't going to tell y'all on the water, because I didn't want to make anybody shit themselves any more than they already were. Okay. But he's like, he said an eel bit me on the belly, and he said, I guess it was an eel, because he said when I grabbed it, it wrapped around my arm, and I held on to it, and then I let go, and it was limp after a little bit.
Fuck that, dude. Like, I fed the stingrays in the Bahamas a couple weeks ago.
Oh God, here comes Navy SEAL Andy here.
No, but I freaked out. Like, these are, these fucking stingrays, they get fed every day, so they're fairly domesticated. But like, I freaked out when like I'm not gonna be macho here or anything. I fucking squealed like a little girl when one of them got behind me and like did its little flip. It kind of hit me in the back. I freaked the fuck out. Like I wouldn't have held my composure if a fucking eel's nibbling on me. There ain't no hell. No. Listen, I'm going through this. Y'all are gonna go through this with me.
Have you seen where they use your? Did anybody have pants on? Have you ever seen where they use the pants to make a flotation device?
Yeah. So, I've seen that where they tie the pant legs and then they bubble it up and they use it to stand on it. And to be honest with you, I didn't even think about that. But Connor, he had a full set of he's a charter captain or has been in the past, and so he has all the shit that keep himself as comfortable as possible while being on the boat 12 hours every day. And he had a pair of Aftico bibs on, Aftico bibs and an Aftico jacket, and he didn't have the jacket on, he had the bibs on. But when he hit the water, our first thought was, you better get them fucking bibs off or you're going to drown. He had extra tough boots on with Aftico bibs on. And after like 20 minutes or so, he was like, y'all, I got to get these off. Like, we got to. So we kind of took turns. I floated for a minute and helped peel them down a little bit. And then after I got worn out from trying to swim in those damn 5-foot waves, somebody else helped him out a little bit, and we just kind of finally got him out of them. So there's a $1,000 set of Aftico bibs floating around somewhere out there.
Yeah, they say you can take your pant legs and tie in each leg, tie a tie deal on them, and then tie the top, and then you can use them kind of float. And then trash bags is the easiest flotation deal. You do the same way. You tie two of them together, and then it's kind of buoyant. You got two air, and you can set in between them, and you can rest your back. It's always simple to remember all that shit when you're sitting in West Texas,
when you're on
in
land.
a studio on land,
right?
But when you're grabbing shit, you can't. I mean, you're just trying to save yourself, and what a freaking oh my god! How long were you in the water?
4.5 hours.
Your
boat went down at 9:20. We got rescued at
late one.
Yeah,
somewhere between 1 and 2.
And you made a TikTok video of yourself in the water.
Well, that video was not meant to be a TikTok famous video. That video was actually made. If the worst come to worst, I could put my cell phone in a cooler and push it off, and somebody's going to find it. And when they activate it, that video, I sent it to my mom and my loved ones to say, hey, look, this is what happened. So if you're wondering, because, I mean, we're never going to be found. I don't want people just wondering what happened. At least they have a video to know what happened.
Yeah.
So that was basically a video, and my mama knows I'm a serious person when I have to be, but I really, truly, like me, when in your bad case scenario, I kind of light things up. I try to be funny or whatever. That's just how I am. But when I took the video and I sent it to her, I knew I didn't have cell service. My phone was about to die. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And I was thinking, well, worst come to worst, she knows what happens. They'll know what happened, what happened. And I was just going to put the phone in the cooler and just set it off to adrift and see what happened. I mean, but then we got rescued and I sent it to my girlfriend and then I sent it, and she like that's, after thinking about it and looking at it, that's freaking hilarious. Like you just have no care in the world, but really, truly, it was like a duck in water.
Yeah.
I'm up top with feet kicking underneath like hell. So it was no bueno at that
no
point.
Bueno. No bueno is the quote of the video. No bueno. Yeah. No shit is no bueno, bud. Yeah. No fucking shit.
Every time a minor inconvenience happens in life now, I'm gonna look around and go, well, the boat sank.
Yeah.
Well, the boat sank.
I had one guy reach out to me on the TikTok video. He goes, dude, you got to get shirts made. He says, well, boat sank. And they have a little hashtag right there that says no bueno. I'm like, man, I ain't trying to do all that crap. I really, like I was saying, the video wasn't meant to be a TikTok. Once we all survived, we all came out on it. We put it on there. And hell, I think we left one of our friends' swimming pool at about 5 o'clock, and next morning woke up with 2.3 million views, and it was just growing and growing and growing. I think it's up to 7.3 million views right now. But yeah, I never meant for that to go as big as it did. Usually TikTok, a Southern boy, ain't gonna go too far, right. But a lot of people that's been commenting on it, a lot of people that's outdoors kind of help them and save the life, and not save the life, but they're going to get these e-pervs now. They're going to get their personal locating beacons. It's doing good, and I hope to God that it saves other people's lives for what that video is.
You will. There's people that you're going to save. You're going to save a lot of lives with this. What's amazing for us is we're able to do this with you. Since we've been doing this podcast, we're in 6 years now?
Yeah.
6 years of doing this. There's probably been a dozen incidents of someone's died, either in a duck boat, offshore, or something that someone sent us and we found out about, and they don't ever find them. They do searches, they call them off, and it's almost 100% that they die. So it's a blessing that you guys be able to talk to us, because y'all were very fortunate. Did you ever have a time during this that you thought it was over, honestly, or did you really feel like y'all were going to get caught? Because out in the middle of the fucking ocean, there's nothing there. People.
Yeah. That part's kind of tricky to answer. So we went down like I'd say probably you can see about 11 to 12 miles across the water. We went down probably 6 miles southeast of a gas rig, and initially we were like, maybe we're floating closer to it. And then we slowly realized that after a couple hours, it was gone. Mm-hmm. So we knew we were floating pretty damn fast. Went down, and there was a couple boats fishing by us. We thought maybe they'd see us. Like within 2 miles of us, there was people catching fish. We could see them catching fish. But the parts where I think the parts where hope got lost a couple of times was, we were hopeful when we saw the Coast Guard, but we also had our hope lost a few times when we saw the Coast Guard. So the Coast Guard came out of Dolphin Island, which was east of us at the time that we went down. They traveled east to west and passed us, but they went straight in the direction of the boat, where the boat went down, where we initially hit the EPIRB beacon at or whatever. And then they passed back west to east. And on that first pass west to east, they actually passed us pretty close. And we used a lot of energy and screaming and everything, to try to get them to see us. And they didn't. They just went right on by us. And which not their fault. It was rough. And you can't see shit out there in 4.5 foot waves, especially with a 4-second wave period where it's just up and down constantly. So that was one point where, we wore ourselves out, yelling and screaming, and legs started cramping. Everybody's already cold because the water is 81 degrees and your body temp's 98.6. And they say anything below 98.6 you can get hypothermia. Mm-hmm. And I believe it, because we were all shivering, which is probably us all about to have panic attacks too. But anyways, so they passed us east to west, west to east. That first time west to east is pretty terrifying, and then they passed us again east to west. And we're like, okay, they're definitely looking for us. This is better. Well, they passed us again going west to east back to where they came from. That was the second pass. And that time we were like, all right, they've done some investigations now. This ain't good. So they come by again east to west. This is the fifth pass. East to west, they're pretty far away from us on this one. And they're kind of traveling more southwest more southwest than anything. And they come by, and we all told ourselves, we were like, because we had wasted a ton of energy on that second pass. We were like legs cramping like bad. Like it was pretty bad. Everybody was cramping. It wasn't just like one or two of us. We were all cramping up a little bit between our calves and our hamstrings and shit like that. But so they, on that fifth pass, they went by and they stopped. We were like, okay, they're not that far from us right now. And their boat spun very, very, very slowly, like it spun from southwest over to southeast, and we were southeast. And they kept spinning, and they ended up stopping their heading, dead ass on us. But they were still like a mile from us. And we all were like...
You're a mile, and you're looking at something that big. He's told me, the guy asked the Coast Guard to say, he said it's basically like, in the waves that y'all were in, to find a head bobbing, it's like looking for something 3 inches out of the water. He said it's impossible.
Right.
It's very, very hard to see. So they line up on us, and we take this 165 quart igloo cooler. We close the lid on it. By the way, Yetis float good, igloos float good, but damn, I tell you what, that igloo, that joker, lid open, didn't matter. We almost had a guy standing up completely in it. Like, we stood him up in it, trying to get him in the air, and he stood up for a second, and then it fell over. But it held a 180-pound guy or 200-pound guy. It was pretty impressive. But we took it, closed the lid, we stood it straight up in the water, just where it was floating. We were holding it straight up, so that gave them a 3-foot thing to look at rather than a 1-inch head. And they lined up on us, and we all just stayed there and held the cooler. We just held the cooler right there, hoping they'd see something. And they start coming our way, and they're just kind of easing our way. And they're not on plane or nothing. And then all of a sudden, we see a guy on the front of the Coast Guard boat. And he spotted the cooler is what it was. And he points over there, but doesn't know it's us. He's like telling the captain, hey, go on this way. They get on up on plane coming at us, and we were all just like freaking out because they had not quite seen us yet, but they had seen something towards us, and they were coming dead at us. I mean, pinpoint on our faces. They were pointing right at us, and when they got about 100 yards from us, we saw the Coast Guard guy on the front waving at us, and then the Coast Guard guys were freaking high-fiving. They did their job, and that's what they live to do. And when they got up to us, man, I cannot say enough about the Coast Guard. We've praised them, but there's no praise that's enough for what those guys deserve. Like, they pulled up, they immediately were like, all right, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to cross these lines. We're going to throw to this side and this side. I'm going to bring y'all on one at a time. Don't try to climb on the boat. We're going to pick you up onto the boat. And it was just very, 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 very professional. Like, those guys, like I said, I can't give them enough praise because the way they handled things, as soon as the first guy got on the boat, we got Dusty on the boat first. He's probably 57, 58. He was very much struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, really bad. He said it himself, so I'm going to say it, but I'm not saying anything he hadn't said. He told us there, he said, there's no way I'd have made it past dark. There's no way.
Wow.
So we got him on the boat first. He got up on there. They put him on the deck, and he was just kind of freaked out. He sat there quietly for a little bit. And I got on the boat second, and I went in the captain's room, and captain was like, is everybody accounted for? It's all 5 people. Is everybody okay? And I was like, everybody's fine. We're all here. We're good. He said, okay, I'm going to let y'all's loved ones know. They're all going to be at the dock waiting on y'all. So, I mean, it was, I can't say enough.
Tears of joy was falling down our faces when that boat was
Hell yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Dude, it's like, it was awesome.
Man, that puts the reality of it that old boy didn't think he had 3 or 4 hours left in him. That's
no shot.
And that's the reality.
I believe him.
Yes.
Yeah. I believe him because I'll be honest, man. I can fight pretty hard, and I'm a young guy. I'm fairly fit. I wasn't that scared about not being able to make it through the waves and shit. I was cold.
Mm-hmm.
And when dark got there, I was going to be a lot colder.
Yeah.
And that's what my concern wasn't food, water, or getting eaten by a shark. My concern was I'm freezing, and if it gets dark, I'm going to be a lot damn colder. And I think that all of us could have made it through the night. We could have gotten Dusty with some extra vest on or got him on the cooler really well. We could have saved him pretty well, but he was cold too. And the cold was the part that scared me the most, is that, there was no way for me to warm up.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't swim to warm up because I was already cramping. I couldn't use my energy to warm up because I didn't have much energy. That was the scary part. I mean, I think that if any of us had made it through the night, it'd have been a miracle.
Yeah, hypothermia is bad stuff.
Whenever y'all got onto the Coast Guard boat, did they tell y'all, like, did they give you a timeline on how much longer you probably would have made it out there?
No, they did say that dark would have been tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they said for them searching for us, dark would have been tough.
Yeah.
They flat out said, this is the whole deal that's terrifying about the thing, is that between me, Easton, Connor, who's got probably 10,000 charter hours under his belt. Dusty, that's a unlimited ton tug captain that literally works 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off running tugs through the Gulf of Mexico. Between all of us and his son, all of us on that boat, we probably had 50,000 hours of boating experience between Dusty and Connor's charter stuff combined. And we've all been fishing since we were kids. And it's been our whole lives is offshore fishing. The scary part was that I've been out offshore on that exact same boat probably 150 or 200 times, put 400 hours on that boat in the last 3 years, just using it for recreational fishing, not for anything else. And a little bit of, island fun. But every time I've gone over on this trip, I didn't have an EPIRB. I didn't have PLB with me. And if we had not had that device with us, at the earliest, people wouldn't have started looking until dark. At the earliest.
When y'all didn't report back for the
report back. Yep. That would have been the earliest that they sent people.
That's the scary part about the whole thing is because that's what we go back to, the plan of everything. When the boat was sinking, the center console part had pressure on it, so we couldn't get the flares out. If we would have got the flares out, if we wouldn't have put the stuff inside the center console part, we would have been rescued probably 30 minutes because the other boats would have seen the flares go off.
Right.
They would have seen smoke. They would have seen everything. The Coast Guard would have seen that if we would have had dye packets, if we would have just had the proper stuff in the right area, it wouldn't have been as bad as it was. We would have been found a lot quicker.
Right.
So that's the whole part of a bailout plan, and to be more safe on the water, to have a better plan is to have your personal locate beacon or your EPIRB, to have your flares and stuff not inside the center console because, people say, well, it just takes up room. We're never going to use them. Put them in there. Don't worry about them. Make sure they're in date. They don't care about that stuff. Now, it's one of the things. It's like I got people on the water right now sending me pictures on the island with their EPIRB or their personal locate beacon, their flares. Like, it has changed a lot down here because we know a lot of people. So going back to that part about the plan that's a big part of a plan when you're boating or any outdoors thing is having it where you need it, if you need it, and not just tucked away somewhere and out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, flares would have saved us in, no joke. I think that there would have been a boat on top of us in I say 10 minutes. There was 2 guys fishing a mile and a half from us. 2 boats right by each other. If we'd have shot a flare off, we'd have been out of the water pretty quick.
Right.
I would burn a cooler down or something just to make black smoke for somebody to see us. I promise.
What do you mean the console had pressure on it? What does that mean?
When the boat was going down, so the ass end of the boat was going down first, and so what we're thinking, we couldn't get the center console part open. So what we're thinking that it had pressure, it was bending, and it wouldn't allow you to open the hatch to get the door open.
Gotcha.
That or the water coming in the boat so fast, that or the air pressure, one of the two.
We just couldn't get it open.
Yeah, the door would not open for it.
Right.
So, which is a door we open every time, every day.
Has anybody explained what happened to the boat to make it go down in such a fashion?
We've got our theories, but one of the Coast Guard guys is a diver, and another one of our employees is actually a diver too. And our employees planning on diving in it as soon as snapper season closes because they don't want it's a good fishing area right there. They don't necessarily want somebody going and finding what it is when they dive it. But we've got some theories, but I'll tell you, none of them really make any damn sense because we've gone through so much. And me especially, I've run that boat so much that I can't imagine what may go down that fast. Every time I put a theory together, it's like, well, no, it still wouldn't have sunk that fast.
My theory is we hit something in the water and we had a massive hole in the hole. I mean, for it to go down as quick as it did, that's the only thing that makes any sense. And also the bilge pumps. A lot of people ask about the bilge pumps. There was 2 very big bilge pumps in that boat.
Brand new.
And yes, there was a plug in the boat. A lot of people ask, was there a plug? Yes, the boat stayed in the water that night.
Friday night, yeah.
We did a check before we left out. It's not like we was throwing everything on the boat, getting ready to go. No, we made sure we had the flares. We made sure we had life jackets. We made sure we had the EPIRB. We made sure that the bilge pump was working. We made sure we had a checklist that we did before we even went out of the harbor.
Yeah. So that as far as the bilge pumps go, like we had brand new ones on there. We just put on, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago, just kind of going through and preparing the boat for fishing season. And we had just put a 1,600 gallon per hour bilge pump on there, and then an additional 800 gallons per hour under the center console. So we had, whatever 1,600 times or plus 8 is, 2,400 gallons per hour of water getting out of the boat potentially, and we tested them too. Friday night in the slip, I stuck a water hose down the hole. I was like, all right, we're just gonna make sure everything's good. We got a couple different things that we thought might could happen. I'll go through those briefly, and maybe it'll make sense to somebody, but we don't really know. So for one, we had the live well running. When the live well runs, when it goes to its overflow valve, it drains out what they call the scupperts, which is the two pipes that just, if you get water in the base of the boat, it pours out. So our thoughts are it overflowing couldn't have sunk the boat, because they always overflow and they drain out the scupperts. So the next thing is if the through hole fitting, which is the part that goes through the hole to bring water in for the live well and for the saltwater wash down. If that broke, potentially we were pumping water in the boat through the live well without knowing it. But then again, the live well doesn't bring water in the boat as fast as our bilge pumps put it out of the boat. So that kind of cans that theory. That was my original thought, was maybe we filled it up with the live well. We didn't know it while we were running. The next thought is that maybe the transom ripped. Maybe the rear of the boat where the motors are attached. Maybe we took a wave and something just gave way, and that would create a large hole. The motors weren't like offset or weird looking or anything when the boat went down, but possibly something in the rear section back there ripped. Really, the only other thing that I could think of is that maybe we took a wave and the base of the hole split somewhere a little bit. But none of those things, we'll not know an answer unless someone dives that boat. We can put together as many theories as we want, but in all reality, even if any of those things I just said happened, how fast the boat sunk still does not make sense. Even if you took a shotgun, took a 12 gauge and point blank range, shot a hole in the bottom of the boat, it would not have sunk that fast. And that's the part we can't figure out. That's the part that just kind of, that's the scary part. We have no idea what happened.
How do you know the boat is on the bottom right there? And the reason I ask, a friend of mine used to dive, and he used to dive off of Venice in the gas wells, and he said he was diving one time and he looked up and a fucking boat come by, a big cabin, one of them, 35-foot Chris Craft with the cabins and everything in it. He said it just went flying right by in the Gulf Stream, just like it was on top of the water, underwater, just floating by. He said,
that's possible.
He says, craziest thing he's ever seen in his life. He said he just
didn't go all the way to the bottom.
50 foot under the water. He said just goes cruising right by. Just look up, my bucking boat goes by. And so that's why I was asking, do y'all know it's still right there?
We don't know that it's right there, but we know that there's no way in hell there was a lick of air left in that boat because how fast it went down.
Right.
You can hear it sitting there seizing out, or not seizing out, however you blowing out when it was going down.
It was blowing air out.
But it was.
I bet you them wet sound speakers are still down there playing. Fish down there just getting down,
going to the disco.
Well, it'd be nice for him to at least be able to go down there and get all y'all shit out if he can.
Well, man,
it's probably ruined by now.
There's them rods and reels, man. We had like 15, really nice rods and reels on that boat. 3 or 4 days in that salt water, they're done. I mean, you're about not recoverable.
How much issue is it with the insurance company so far? Have they been a pain in the ass?
It's actually, somewhat. And the tricky part about it is that, so my dad bought this boat from my mother-in-law, and he bought it from her not very long ago. And he had it stored, and he didn't add insurance on it until a week or so before we sunk the boat. That's the tricky part. Now, we believe they're going to do the right thing because we're not the kind of people, we're not freaking fraudsters that are going to steal insurance money. We didn't purposely sink the boat. We didn't purposely almost die. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it still feels bad. It feels bad for us knowing that the insurance company's got to pay a claim out that we had only paid a few $100s on.
Don't feel
feels
sorry
like
for
theft.
them.
Yeah, I know, but it's still. We're not the kind of people that just, we know that's what insurance is for, but it still feels wrong, even though you didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What if you pay them for 30 fucking years and you never get a claim?
You'd have had your flare.
That's right.
You'd have had your flare if you were doing it on purpose.
Trust me, I'm dealing with them on
exactly.
a fucking.
Oh yeah, we would have had a hell of a bag ready to go if we was doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
You know what? Matter of fact, if we was doing it on purpose,
we'd have had a life raft.
I would have called Buddy and said, "Look, this is what we're gonna do. Just be out here fishing beside us.
Yeah.
Not going to save us.
No.
Yeah.
Don't.
Just But no.
Don't.
We weren't in shark infested water for 4.5 hours for fun.
No.
I can assure you that.
Don't feel sorry for a fucking insurance company at all. They're going to bang your eyeballs out of you eventually.
That's what a lot of people have told me.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's still kind of people. It's just.
I love how, like you were saying, you pay them for 32 years and you never use them. Then when you got to, the first thing they're going to try to do is come up with every excuse in the book not to pay your ass.
Yes.
Just like down here in Biloxi, Mississippi, we had Katrina how many years ago, and it's still not the same because people didn't have they didn't have insurance on their what was it, wind or whatever. It was water.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't have the water insurance. Bullshit. All these people did. They just come up with a reason not to pay.
Yeah, I'm dealing with them on a tornado damage we had from earlier this year. It's been 8 weeks, and I still had a last guy come out the other day. We'll let you know something in 4 to 6 weeks. The fuck do you need to know?
Crazy.
You've seen the video of it. It's the camera, security camera at the house, everything. They try and then eventually they'll give in. I have no use for insurance companies, so God bless you. I hope you nail their eyeballs out of them some bitches.
Well, and even like Jeff's guy told him, it was basically along the same lines. Well, you don't have flood insurance, but you got wind insurance, or whatever the fuck. Well, it's like my roof has a hole in it now because of a tornado and it floods. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck you want from me here?
That's not cosmetic.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Well, you have a metal roof, so we don't cover cosmetic damage. What the fuck do you cover? My commercial insurance out here, they were bitching at us about our parking lot didn't drain real good. They came here. We had a 4-inch rain. The insurance adjuster inspector came out, went through everything. Well, y'all need better drainage in your fucking parking lot. We don't have flood insurance. What the hell do you give a shit if it's 25 foot deep? You ain't gonna cover it anyways. So what's it matter?
Yeah, no shit.
Well, that's like you get over there in Louisiana, Denham Springs a couple years back. All Denham Springs flooded. They didn't. Not a lot of people have flood insurance over there. You're in the middle of Denham Springs, Louisiana, and you had 6 foot of water inside of people's houses that's nowhere around a river. And a lot of people didn't even get paid out on that. Thank God the government helped them out a little bit. So insurance is big. Now, all of this is they want your money, but they don't want to do anything. They could come up with every excuse in the book not to pay your ass.
Exactly.
Yeah, we had
Go ahead, Stephen. No, go ahead.
We had one of our company trucks get stolen. And that was, man, insurance with them, that was a bitch. Like we took the problem was that we bought this truck for our underground company, and man, we had the truck for like 3 weeks or 2 weeks. The truck got an issue. Like it was literally cutting off, driving on the road, pulling 20,000 pounds of equipment behind it. So we took it to the quickest shop that could get us in, because we use that truck every day. It got stolen from that shop. We had not registered the truck because we had just bought it. All we had was insurance on it. And the registration issue, they were like, we can't give you your money until this truck's registered to you. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but you can't register a stolen vehicle to yourself. So we had to go through the longest process with the state, with all kinds of people, getting them to remove the stolen off the truck for enough time for us to register it and then mark it back as stolen. It took like 8 or 10 weeks to get paid out on that, and it should have been paid in a week and a half. It was ridiculous. It was a nightmare. So
yeah, bad thing is they only insured the truck.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't insure all the tools and equipment that was on the truck. Well, we had the guy call the sheriff's guy called and say, look, we've recovered your truck. Come get your stuff out the truck. Well, we can't technically go get anything off that truck because it's not our truck any longer. It's the insurance. So we have to get the insurance company to sign us a letter saying that we can permission to get the stuff off the truck. Well, when I went to court for it, the guy's like, there wasn't even a bed on the truck.
Yeah, they took the flatbed off.
They took the flatbed
so all of our shit was definitely gone.
Insurance companies, I tell you, it's one way or the other. Yeah.
So what was the attitude how was y'all's morale in the water? You got Easton making no bueno videos, and was there ever a time where, it went from, because I'm sure it was just a roller coaster out there, or did y'all pretty well maintain an even keel the whole time?
I'll tell you, he made that video like fucking 5 minutes into being in the water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was not long.
I was preparing. Like, I knew. I looked at my phone.
It was not
20% battery left. I'm like, nobody else had their phones. All these geniuses.
I had my phone. I had mine also, and I handed it to Connor so I could get my life vest properly on, and he accidentally dropped it to the bottom of the Gulf. So, and mine had like 95% phone battery too, and I was like,
he looks up at us. He goes, boss, I just dropped your phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is calm as can be. But no, the morale part of it is when somebody got down, we would all like, look, it's gonna be okay. They're coming. The guys looking after us. They're on the way. They're on the way. And then, we get quiet and sit there and think about your life and everything going through it. Then somebody else will say something negative, and we just all build each other back up and say, hey, look, we're all together. We got the EPIRB, we got God. It happened earlier.
Food and water.
We got food and water.
We're floating.
We're floating. We know if it gets past a certain time, there's going to be a convoy of people looking for us. Yeah. I mean, it's from Connor's point of view over there in Dolphin Island, fishing charters, and then Dusty's being good friends with people at Mary Walker Marina. I mean, there's going to be people looking for us. It's not going to like it's in. And also, my mom, she knows the guy that owns that airport in Saussure, and she goes, if I would have known, I would have called him right then and there. We would have got you a plane out there. She goes, I know he would have. So there would have been a convoy of people looking. It's just a matter of if we could hold on for that time.
There would have literally been a military-sized group of people looking out there. Like, I'm not joking. So Dusty grew up his whole entire life. He's the one that's like 56, 57. He grew up his whole life from a child in Mary Walker Marina, which is where we launched out of. He knows every single person that does anything there. And then Connor, the 10-year charter captain out of Dolphin Island, he knows everybody, and they all like him. They all got good friends. And one of the things that was crazy is when his girlfriend called TJ, his old boss, told him what was going on. He has a 46-foot Americat or something like that. He's got a big boat. He was out there, and he knew exactly where Connor was heading. Like, he knew what area Connor was going fishing in.
Wasn't he even on a charter at that time?
He wasn't on a charter. He was out on a boat. But he knew where Connor was going because he knew Connor was about to win that tournament. And he knows where the fish are at because they fish together for years. And his track lines, he did a triangle from the gas rig to there's a cell tower out there. He did a triangle around it. And at one point,
cell tower don't work as far as we would, by the way. Don't think y'all had a cell tower. But he did not have no service.
At one point, his track line was like 1.3 miles from us.
Oh, wow.
Like, he almost ran us over not knowing where we were. But whenever Connor got back and safe, he talked to everybody, and there were 8 boats tied up at the dock waiting on TJ to tell them, let's go or let's not go. It was a 39 contender, a 42 Americat, a 32 Americat. I mean, you're talking about $7 million in boats with people just sitting there waiting on somebody to say, all right, let's go. And then that's just in Dolphin Island. You take that plus the 20 boats in Mary Walker Marina, they're going to go look for Dusty. I mean, you're talking about,
that's an army.
$12 million of boats plus Coast Guard with helicopters and boats. Also, we probably would have been found, but it's still scary to think about the fact that, it could have been dark before people started looking. That's the part that's scary.
Right. Now, was word getting out that you guys had sunk? Is that why there was this fleet that was just on standby?
Well, the word that got out is because they didn't know that the boat sank, so they was looking for a boat in distress. That's why the Coast Guard was running back and forth, because they was checking for other boats that fit our description.
They were looking for white 28-foot boats.
That's what they was looking for. So once they realized that, hey, we got a bigger problem here, they were about to send the helicopter out. Once they realized that none of these boats in this area is meeting the description of what they told us, and we're seeing stuff floating in the water. So we've got a bigger problem here than just a boat in distress. So they was going to send a helicopter out when actually the Coast Guard turned and looked towards us and seen us, and that was
yeah. So when we got on the boat, we were like, "Why didn't y'all send a helicopter?" And they were like, "Well," they said, "the thing is, these PLBs, they told us a 90% false alert rate." Right. And he said, on a PLB, the first thing we're going to do is go investigate and go see if it's a boat in distress, because we couldn't tell them, "Hey, the boat's fucking gone." We couldn't tell them that. All we could do is send out a signal saying, "Hey, we're right here. Something's wrong," but they don't know what's wrong. So they actually told us that after they had checked, like they had binoculars, they had checked like 6 or 7 boats in the area and realized none of them fit the description of what we were. It switched in their head. Okay, we're not looking for a boat anymore. We're looking for people in the water. And when we got on the boat, we asked them, like, "What were y'all going to send a helicopter?" And they were like, one was spinning up like right now. Like there was a helicopter leaving. I guess it was in Pensacola, but leaving there like right now. But now that we've got y'all, we're calling them off. But I mean, like I said, it all goes back to that freaking PLB, man. We had not had that, no one would have looked till dark.
Right.
And we even asked the Coast Guard. People's like, giving the praise to that. We asked the Coast Guard, "How did y'all find us?" And the first thing he said was this. He said, "Without that, we have not have found y'all." So that's why, that Coast Guard did their job. Thank God for the Coast Guard. But that helps them out tremendously. If you want to be found on the water, in the woods, anywhere, get a freaking PLB.
And we didn't have time to do a Mayday call either.
No.
That's another thing. If we would have been able to do a Mayday call, they would have sent a chopper immediately. But we didn't have time for that. There was.
Did y'all have AT&T or Verizon phones? Because I've always been told that when you get in the Gulf, if you don't have AT&T phone, Verizon won't work, because all those gas wells or oil wells, whatever, those offshore rigs all have AT&T. Is that true?
No. I don't know what they got, but AT&T don't work out there. I'll tell you that.
I got AT&T FirstNet, so it really goes off, and I don't know quite sure how FirstNet works, but it goes off of anybody's cell tower. It's the first responder thing that has for AT&T, and it goes off of any cell towers. So he has AT&T, and when we're going to the hunting camp, he might not get service, but I got plenty of service because I'm bouncing off of other people's cell towers. Well, there's also a thing that a lady on the video said, once you don't have cell service, if you make a 911 call, it goes to the satellite. I'm not saying bullshit, but it didn't work. I'm not saying that it's not going to. I know for 100% fact my phone did not go, and I called 911. I called people that we work with for AT&T. I've called everybody. I seen the damn call, like, I don't care, it might be a bill collector. I'm calling, hoping somebody gets on. Where's the people calling about the car extended warranty when you're in crisis? I don't care who it is. I was trying to get somebody on the phone, and it wouldn't do jack shit. So I turned the service off so it wouldn't keep draining the battery. And every so often I would check it, like, nope, no service. And we finally, when we found I had 3% battery left on my phone, and I texted my girlfriend that was in Dallas, told her that we was okay. I gave the phone to him. He texted his wife, told her he was okay. Then the phone died. As soon as it handed to somebody else, it died. I'm like, well, thank God that we at least saved now.
Yeah.
When y'all dumped the bait, did y'all ever see any fish hitting the bait?
No, but
I wasn't looking.
I wasn't looking either. We all tried to keep an eye on it and see how far it was from us, but eventually it got out of sight. And there was one moment where, what was it? We saw something floating, and we thought it was there was another bag that had something we needed in it, another EPIRB or something, and we thought it was that. And we all are like booking it, kicking together to go over to it. Then we get about, 50 yards from it. We're like, oh shit, that is a bag of squid. We need to go the other way. So,
Yeah, it was a team building experience.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't team building. We stuck together. It was a very horrifying thing that I never want to ever do again.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine. They always give you that safety briefing like before you take off on an airplane, and it all sounds well and good when you're on the ground, but like when shit's hitting the fan, like how I always wonder, like, am I going to remember where this fucking life vest is if I've got to grab it and grab it for my kids? Like, there's no way I'll have shit in my drawers. My heart rate's going to be at 200. Yeah. I'm not going to know where this fucking life vest is under this plane. You know what I mean? So that's right. Everybody has a plan that they think will work until shit is hitting the fan and you've got to do things expedited.
Yeah.
It happens so quick. You couldn't. Be honest with you, if we would have tried to do anything else to try to get the boat started, we would have been screwed. I guarantee we wouldn't have been here. Not one person. Well, probably because of the coolers, but the life jackets, we wouldn't have been able to get them out. Nothing. So the EPIRB. So it's like one of the things is now it's like you get on the boat. The first thing I want to know, where's the life jackets? I mean, I know a lot of my buddies. I know where their life jackets are already. But if I go say on y'all's boat, I want to know where the life jackets are. How easy it is to get to them, and do y'all have this stuff that's in date? Because I'm gonna have my PLB on me, so I'm not worried about that. But you don't ask them questions when you get on people's boat. You just want to go out there and drink, have a good time, head to the islands. You don't think about nothing else.
Well, and everybody will think that you're lame too. Like, oh, what's this fucking square? What's he worried about the life vest for? Like, we're not gonna sink. Like, well, guess what? We weren't gonna sink that day either.
Yeah, and fuck them because if they want to sit there and make them like, I'm going to drop your ass out there with nobody around for
4.5 hours.
I'll give you an hour to see how you feel about it. Just treading water. Yeah. It was hell.
I'll be honest. I've done a lot of fishing out there, and when it gets hot out there, and we'll be on a reef, I'll jump in the water for a minute just to cool off. But every time I've done that in the past, like I'm jumping in and I'm immediately getting my ass back on the boat because I don't like being in that water. With all that stuff that's in the water. And that's one thing that was very weird that I wasn't like terrified about was that normally I jump in that water. I don't know what's under me. And I'm pretty scared. But when I had to get in that water without being a choice, I wasn't that scared because I guess because my brain realized that there ain't shit you can do about this.
Yeah.
So there ain't no point in being scared about what's under you. If something gets you, you got. There ain't no getting away. I don't know. It was a weird, I guess it's just like one of those instinct things. But, as far as other boats, man, when I own my next boat, I can assure you that I don't give a damn who's on that boat or who cares what I'm saying. Before that boat leaves the dock, before anybody gets on that boat, I'm going to be on that boat standing there saying, here's this device right here. If something happens to me, if something happens to this boat, this is it. You need to press this button. And I'm going to walk to the life vest. These are where the life vests are. If something happens, you need to get these immediately. This is where the flares are. I'm going to, every single time, everybody I don't care, everybody's going to know everything before they step on that boat every time from now on out. I will never get on a boat without a safety briefing ever, ever, ever again. It will not happen.
I don't blame you.
And I will take my own ditch kit with my own EPIRB, my own VHF radio, my own flares, my own whistles, all that shit I'll have in a little box with me. And I'm telling you, I won't get on somebody else's boat without it. I will not do it. I won't get on my own boat without it.
I wouldn't either.
But
how long did it take? How long did it take for y'all to warm up? Because you 81 degrees, you're in there 4.5 hours. Hypothermia had to be coming on.
That Coast Guard deck, let me tell you, it's black non-slip. I laid on that joker flat as I could be, and I was fine. And another thing about the coldness, dude, when that boat got up next to us, and I knew we were good. When it got up next to us, I wasn't cold no more. Everything went away. I could have sat there next to that boat in the water for 10 more hours and been dry. I knew that I was good at that point, and that the coldness and stuff just went away. And I guess God took over from there and was like, "Hey, buddy, you're okay. You don't have to shiver or be scared or be cold or any of that. You're about to go home to your family."
Until that pink great white comes back out there.
Yeah, that's another thing that's pretty terrifying. That I think it was March 23rd. There was a great white that's 14 or 16 foot long. Pinged 16 miles southeast of Petty Boy Island. That's exactly where we were.
I wonder if that's that
I said
Lebeth
to
shark.
him, like, you want to go to the island?
Was that that Lebeth shark? We've been following her.
I don't know. It was.
I think it was.
Whatever one was like between 16 and 20 miles south of Petty Boy. That's the one.
There's been one that's cruising in the Gulf Coast right now, and I think that's her. Because matter of fact, I think a boat caught her and took a picture of her when they was in the Mississippi waters. Like a beautiful. I mean, she was just gorgeous. But I've been a scuba diver. I mean, I ain't scuba dived in a while, but kind of what got me is we go dive these wrecks and you look out there and this is really not a shark on these wrecks. So the part of a shark actually being under us, I was like, probably not going to have nothing because there's no structure under us. There's just sand or whatever. Just kept going. I'm like, there's probably nothing under there. Then I started thinking about the bait. Now I'm like, oh shit, the shark's coming. Then I had to go back and forth. Like as many times I dove, after the 100th time I jumped off of any boat, the first thing I do is always look under me, make sure there ain't nothing there, and never see anything. I've seen barracudas before, and I have seen a 14-foot sand tiger shark out there in Pensacola, or not Pensacola, but Panama City, and she was just cruising along. I'm like, yeah, but the teeth doing all this. I don't know if y'all know what a sand tiger shark looks like, but they're horrifying. I'd rather play with Jaws than play with sand tiger shark.
Yeah,
just the way they look.
I'm looking at it now. Puppies. She was in y'all's area middle part of February. So, like you said, this happened, March 27th or something? End of March, right?
No, it happened. It just happened
just recently.
2 weeks ago. I thought
today.
I thought that she pinged. I thought she pinged in March. That's my bad. But no, we sunk 2 weeks ago from today.
2 weeks ago from today.
Yeah, we was in the water 2 weeks ago.
That's an amazing story. Gosh, you guys are very blessed, very lucky, and.
She was in our neck of the woods in March, or I say our neck of the woods. She was on the Texas coast in March.
Got you.
Y'all can have her.
Yeah,
she'll make her way back to you guys. Maybe you'll catch her.
The lady that had y'all take that with her, as a God definitely was watching out through her to do that. That's a good thing.
Oh shit!
Somebody pushed that button.
Did y'all see any of the pictures of the messages between her and her mom?
Mm-mm.
All right. Speaking of God, and if people don't believe in God, then they're absolutely crazy. But just from our story alone, she texted her mom at like 9:23 and said, "Hey, I just want to remind you, you're the emergency contact on my POB. If the Coast Guard calls, you better answer it." The Coast Guard called her 3 minutes.
Wow!
Holy shit!
Yeah. Does that not give you chills?
Works in mysterious ways.
Like, that's yes, it does. And that is just like, I mean, it's crazy. It's like she had this feeling or was told by God, hey, you need to remind your mom
don't ignore that
they're
call
out there. That way if somebody calls that they get in touch with you.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I shared that. I made a Facebook post in the beginning of this whole thing, and it got like 1,800 shares and a zillion likes, and it was more of an informational post rather than anything else. And one good thing from all this is between his TikTok and that post, and then Paul Bernard's post with the Coast Guard, there is a ton of people that are like, I've got my layers of safety, but I'm adding more layers. I'm making my safety section a lot thicker.
Correct.
I'm learning from this, and that's what the point of us talking to you guys is. That's the point of us talking to the news, which the news really, to be honest with you, every time we've talked to them, they take whatever they think is juicy and they put it in there, but they don't put any of the good stuff. They don't put the stuff we want people to know. And that's what talking with Paul at the Coast Guard and talking with you guys, and that's the biggest part. We want people to understand that, like I said in the beginning, we did a lot right, but we're all experienced. We've done this a ton. Nobody thinks it's going to happen. And especially the big thing is people have asked us, well, boats normally just capsize and there's something you can float on. That did not happen to us. The boat went under. The boat sunk like a rock. And we weren't prepared for that. And we were prepared just enough to survive. That's the biggest thing. We could have been much more prepared. You can buy like a 6-man neon green life boat that takes up, 30 inches of space. You can buy that for like $1,500.
Or blow up floaties, like the
buy one of those.
Pool.
Yeah, any of that stuff, like buy that stuff. I mean, you're gonna spend $5,000 on a radio, and and $8,000 on electronics, yeah, let's buy the other stuff first. Let's get your priorities straight. That's what we want people to do, is get their priorities straight on safety, because, like I said, we've done this a zillion times. We fished our whole lives, and none of us really prepared for this. And we're lucky to be here, and we want people to take that from that and learn from it, that, if you do get out there and this does happen to you, if you don't have the right things, there is a damn good chance that the Gulf of Mexico is going to eat you alive.
Not just the Gulf, anywhere.
Yeah.
The woods. I mean, that's the whole point of why, we're pushing it out there so hard, is because we do want people to be safe, and the Coast Guard's wanting everybody to be safe. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, the reason why y'all brought us on here is just to get it out there about safety for the outdoors, and we want everybody to be safe for the outdoors. And that's all we're trying to do, is make everybody as safe as possible. I know people's not going to, because you got hard-headed men that thinks, oh, this ain't going to happen to me. Well, it might. And then when it does, just be prepared.
Every group's got that guy that's the over-preparer that everybody fucks with all the time.
Everybody makes fun of him. That's what I'm saying.
But when shit happens, you're glad you got him on your boat.
Because we were on a power boat in the Bahamas, and my wife was that person. She had my 5-year-old, and poor Reese, my oldest son, is 9. She had him put on life jackets. And I was like, fucking Jesse.
It's a good thing, though.
You're embarrassing me here.
You're embarrassing me.
But we ended up going through a thunderstorm on the way on this power boat. And it was a little bit dicey for about 15 minutes. But I was like, boy, I'm glad she got those life jackets on those two little shitheads.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like you always, like, for us, a lot of people think it's crazy to bring. Think about this. How many times you go to a duck pit and you don't ever bring a sandwich, but you got that one person that does bring all the sandwiches, and you're thinking, God, dude, this guy right here got snacks, he got candies, I was joking on you, he got everything. I'm starving. I'm trying to get out of here. Or you go on a boat. People bring so much food and stuff on a boat, and next thing you know, 3 hours later, hell, you bellied off into it, getting everything that you want.
Right, yeah. You're like, how long you think we're going to be out here? What's all this food for? You fucking Thanksgiving dinner out here. Then all of a sudden you're like,
we got the beer and we got the water.
You got one of those Uncrustables in there?
Yeah, that's right.
My dad
we get one of those PB&J.
My dad got stranded on a duck hunting trip one time on a lake up here, Lake Diversion, and it's a 10 or 15 mile boat ride back in the middle of nowhere. And we used to do this in December and January and cut ice. I mean, all kinds of shit could go wrong. Well, my dad was on a trip with some buddies of his, and the battery on the boat died. And my dad had to walk out, and it was like a 10-hour walk. Now, this ranch is on a 500,000 acre ranch. That's a lot of freaking land. That's basically the size of half of Rhode Island. And there's no farms or nothing. It's undivided land. And he had to walk out. And they got stranded like at 11 in the morning, and he got to someone's house at like 10:30 at night, come up to a farmhouse to get him. But after that, when we went up there, dude, we had it all.
Yeah.
We had 2 coolers we took with us, and my dad had survival blankets in it. He had trash bags. He had stuff that's something, if you got wet, matches that were solid stuff. And I used to always laugh, ha, 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 ha. But if something ever happened, you're prepared.
Mm-hmm.
You guys will always be prepared. And hopefully in your lifetime, it will never, ever, ever, ever happen again. But if it does, you're going to at least be ready for it when it does. And that's a good thing. And I think y'all's message y'all are telling people is a good one, and I think that a lot of people will go buy one of them devices, and they need to.
I would.
Yes, if you're going to take your loved ones or yourself on there for $400, that's the cheapest thing on a freaking boat. That's like buying cheap shotgun shells to go on a duck hunt. You spend all that money for all that shit to buy a fucking $3 box of shells. Buy good shit.
Yeah.
We got a $1,200 computer in our pocket. We don't think anything about it.
Yeah,
but, we'll balk at a $400 piece of equipment that, pray to God, you never need. But
and these things right here are a miracle. They are. They're absolutely the best thing in the world. But if you ain't got cell service or they get wet,
they ain't worth the damn.
You might as well skip rocks with it. I mean, that's all it's going to be. And I'm surprised, it did go underwater, and I can see a little bit green, but it still works. And I'm going to keep it on as long as I possibly can. So, I mean.
Yeah, he actually jumped in the water with that in his pocket. And after like 5 minutes, he realized it was in his pocket. And he was like, oh, shit, I got my phone with me. And it's still working fine. Nothing wrong with it.
Didn't have service, though.
Had you lost yours at that point already?
No, I had mine for the first like 30 minutes, but it was that.
Right. And then
I had it in my hand. I had that in my hand, and then I needed to get, I was struggling with the life vest because I was just floating on it. I didn't have it on. And I was like, I need y'all to hold this because I need to get this life vest on right. If we're going to be here for a while, we need to all get in our life vest and we need to be, ready to ride this thing out, especially if it gets rougher. So I handed it off for that. I actually set it on top of the Yeti and told Connor to hold it there. And as soon as I got my life vest on, he looked at me and goes, well, your phone's gone. I was like, all right. And then his phone stopped working. And at some point he was just like, tossed it because it was dead. Yeah. It died. And he's like, I'm not holding, this is just taking my energy holding this thing. So I'm going to let it go on down the bottom.
I'll tell you a funny part is when this guy, the ACR people reached out, he is a vice president of the marketing part. And he's like, man, our sales just skyrocketed in the last 2 days and didn't know what was going on. And I was talking to some people in the office about it. And this girl came in there and said, have you not seen the TikTok of these 5 people floating in the water?
Holding one of these
holding one of them in the hand. And he goes, no. So he sends it or like watches the video and he reaches out right then and there. Like, dude, I want to do everything I can to help y'all out. I'm going to get everybody one of these. And like 5 people got one. She sent Connor and his girlfriend 2 of them, plus another one to donate at the fish rodeo that they're doing today or this weekend. Man, he even set us up a promo code for everybody that if they want to buy one to, get 10% off. And so they want to do as much as they possibly can to help people, to help themselves, really.
Now, you mentioned earlier, you said not many people want to tell the story when something happens like this. Why don't they want to talk about when the boat goes down?
I don't know. The Coast Guard said the Coast Guard that we talked to, Paul, that's over their safety stuff, he said that it could be, just, kind of like PTSD type thing, like anxiety from it. He also said people get embarrassed by it. It's embarrassing and this and that. And like, I've not had any of those thoughts. I can't say that I just enjoy talking about it because I've told the story 1,000 times, you know what I mean? But then again, like, if ACR wants us to go work the Billfish Classic, if they want to bring a booth down and have us tell our story, at these fishing tournaments, I'm in. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to learn from our experience. That's what it comes down to. And I don't know, I can't really answer why people don't want to do it, but that's what Paul said was that people are embarrassed by it or they're afraid to talk about it or whatever. But and he praised us. He was like, I hate this happened to y'all, but I'm so glad it happened to y'all because the way that y'all are willing to tell the story and the way that y'all are willing to help us get this message out that these things are important and these things are a minimal cost. If you can afford a boat, maybe $100,000, $200,000 boat, why can't you afford a $400 device? And like a total of, if you buy a ditch kit, if you put together a ditch kit with like a VHF radio, a handheld one that's battery powered, with that, one of these, flares, you're going to be in it for $1,200, maybe $1,500. And ultimately still, if you finance a boat, that's one boat payment. You know what I mean? Yeah. If not less than one boat payment. It's less than a couple speakers. It's definitely less than a one rod and reel combo. You know what I mean? For the rods and reels we used to do this kind of stuff.
I don't care what it is. It saved our life.
Yeah.
And this life is a hell of a lot more important than all that other stuff. So
yeah. I'd rather be alive than listening to music. I can tell you that.
The people that get embarrassed, I think that they get embarrassed because they think, oh, I did something wrong or something happened. And from people,
we didn't do shit wrong.
But people from the outside like us, we don't look at it as that way at all. We like they survived. I mean, there are people that have plane crashes up in Alaska, little bush planes. They're the same way. They don't want to tell their story. Right. Well, if people can learn from something that happened to you that's preventable, y'all couldn't prevent what happened, but luckily you had that device. The next guy that's out there, there's somebody right now that's on a boat somewhere off the coast of the United States somewhere that's not going to come home today. They may have to get rescued, but it's going to happen. There's boats all over, and that little device right there. And the same with guys that duck hunt. If you duck hunt in the Great Lakes or any of the big lakes up north, and you're in a boat, buy one of these things because you never, ever, ever know when something's going to capsize or anything, and save your life or save your friends' lives on something like that. Especially when you're offshore, because there's not most inshore lakes have some kind of cell service or something. The Coast Guard may not be close, but somebody, local law enforcement. We had a guy that fell out of a deer stand out here last year, the year before, that his phone, he couldn't move, and so he pinged his phone, and they landed a helicopter 100 yards. He'd fallen right out of his deer stand. And if it wouldn't have been for them being able to ping that cell phone, they would have never found him. We had a guy that died in the snowstorm, 3 years ago? Yeah. It was a wet, rainy snow, and he got wet and cold and got disoriented and got lost, and he died right in the road. If he would have had that device, they would have been able to find exactly where he's at within an hour, and he'd still be here today. So help yourself a little bit. And I appreciate you guys being on here and telling your story. I know it's not been easy, but I'm glad y'all told y'all story. I'm so thankful y'all are still alive. And God bless you and your family. And God bless how that all worked out. And God's good. We're very lucky. We are.
God is good. And we all very lucky. And I appreciate y'all calling us, reaching out, and putting us on here, man. I really do. Absolutely. Hopefully it does touch people's life, and hopefully people say, all right, let's go ahead and get one. Because that's what it's going to take. Really and truly, the men ain't going to do it. It's the wives and the girlfriends that's going to do it. The guys are hard-headed. We all know that. But if there is any women on this that listen to y'all, go ahead and get your husband one, or get your kids one, wherever they duck hunt, they fish, they whatever, definitely get them one.
Yeah, they make these things that you can they make them with life vest on them. Like, you can buy you can get a life vest, and one of these, like a mini version of these that attaches to the life vest. And that, like, for duck hunters especially, a duck hunter might not want to carry this exactly device, but
put it on the barrel.
If you wear a life vest going out, or whatever, a small life vest, wherever you're fishing, if you wear anything like that, and you've got one of these small devices on there, like the miniature versions that go on life vest, worst case scenario, you wreck your boat and you die. But guess what? You're found, because they're going to find your body. They're going to find you. And that's worst case scenario. We don't want that to happen, but at least you provide family closure or whatever for a reason. You know what I mean? They make them smaller than this, and, there's almost every aspect of life you could use one of these.
They actually make wristbands like a watch for your kids. So you go on a boat, they can have a little watch on there, and that's the same exact thing.
Yeah, this is worst case scenario stuff. And in worst case scenario, you're going to thank yourself for getting this.
What was that promo code in case anybody wants to take advantage of it?
Survivor 10.
Take advantage of it, folks. Listen, guys, we appreciate you guys coming on here. Glad you guys are safe and back on land. If there's anything that we can do for y'all in the future, let us know. And it's been a hell of an episode. We appreciate you guys.
All right. Nice meeting you
guys. And go kill some
There you go.
We'd
love to do it.
God bless you guys. Y'all have a great summer and be safe.
Right.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
See you, boys.
Very lucky men. What a story. Gosh almighty. You imagine.
You don't think 81 degree water is very cold?
It's 16 degrees below
until
your
you're
normal.
out there
That's
for
right.
4.5 hours.
Yeah.
What do you think your pool is?
Probably 90 right now, 91, 92. Right. I bet. My hot tub, when I'd run my hot tub at the most, and when it got really cold in the winter, I would crank it up to triple digits. But my hot tub, I used to run like at 94, 95 degrees is all. Get too fucking hot.
Right.
But 81 is big. Like if you got it, like when I would like fill it up and it would start out, because my well water, I think, is like 52 degrees. So when I would put it in and it would get at 81 degrees, my ass ain't getting fucking hot tub. It's cold.
Right.
And that shit's cold, cold, cold. So it, like you said, that doesn't sound like, you don't think about someone dying of hypothermia in the Gulf of Mexico. You just don't. You're like, all right, it's summer, blah, blah. It won't be, but it's cold.
Right. Especially in May. And for whatever reason, when I was looking up articles, it says May 30th, and my brain had it as March 30th.
Yeah.
For whatever
reason. But and I'm going to tell you right now, March 30th, the water temperatures in the Gulf of Mexico probably aren't not much different at all. I know that they're going to change subject a little bit, but hurricane season is supposed to be really bad this year because the Atlantic is super, super hot right now. Super hot, like 90-degree waters in some places and up. And they said that's going to really generate hurricanes. But 81 degrees water is very cool. And to be in it that long that time is very lucky. And most people that go offshore have water and food because there's nowhere to stop and buy shit.
Right.
This here should resonate with the duck hunters. If you get in a duck boat and you've got on fucking waders and you don't have on a life jacket, you're a fool.
Yeah.
And there are fools listening to this right now. Women listen better than men do.
Sure. I always said it.
And so that's why women are such good hunters as an outfitter. If you've got some women out here, because they listen. If you tell them to do something, it's just the way they're wired different. They don't know better than everyone else. You know, so they listen where men don't listen very well. So if you've got a kid, a husband, a wife, a brother, any loved ones, a neighbor you don't like even, and they go out on the water, talk to them about getting one of these devices because it could save their life.
Yeah.
Did you see one of the, change subject quick, did you see where one of the astronauts that took one of the pictures supposedly of the Earth from space died yesterday? 90-something years old and died in a plane crash, crashed his plane flying. Damn. 91 years old, still flying a plane by himself. That's what got me at the story more than the astronaut part. I was pretty impressed by that.
One thing I did see about the moon landing, since you brought it up, they brought back moon rocks, you know?
I'm listening.
Well, they put them under a microscope and it was just petrified wood.
It was?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oops.
Yeah, I've seen, I don't know. Somebody went to the moon supposedly the other day and got some stuff. China or somebody. They landed on the other side of the moon, though, supposedly.
The dark side.
Yeah, I don't have, it's just, man, the older we get, the harder it is to buy into anything that our government tells us. The people that I have trusted my entire life have lied to me. And I'm glad my dad got out of here before a lot of this because he still had faith in the United States and Old Glory.
Evidently, this was an old article. This is from 2009. NBC, moon rock in museum is just petrified wood. Purported moon rock given to the Dutch government to commemorate the first manned lunar landing in 1969 has turned out to be only a chunk of petrified wood. Now, maybe there were trees on the moon one day.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Maybe.
That's going to be their answer.
Maybe it had moons on or trees on it.
Let's say, oh yeah, it was an oak tree. The moon used to have lunar oak trees. I don't know, but it's just sad that that's where but our whole world is just so different than the world I grew up in.
Yeah,
it just really is. There's too much technology. There's too much this, and we're finding out how much we've been lied to.
Okay, we're gonna get out of here, but first, before we do, we got a giveaway going on. It's for
3-day goose hunt.
One man,
3-day goose hunt, November 18th, 19th, and 20th for the...
This is the Father's Day giveaway.
Yes, this is a Father's Day giveaway. It's the Steel Reserve Hunt from Boss. You get a box of Steel Reserve shells to shoot every day, 12 or 20 gauge. You'll be here at the lodge. There'll be a lot of industry people here. Boss will be here. This also comes with a Boss hoodie. You get me your size. Whoever wins this, Boss will send you direct a hoodie.
Pacific is sending a BBS Speckle Belly call.
Okay.
We are also getting Texas rigs from Easy Deeks.
Yep, a dozen Easy rigs and I think a T-shirt or something from them. Dirty Duck Coffee's giving you 2 pounds of coffee, Morning Wood, and the Missouri Boat Ride, 2 pounds of it.
I feel like we're missing one.
Yeah, I do too, and I can't remember exactly what it is right now.
Either way, this is going to be, it's on our social media account, so I'm sure we missed one, but just head over to our Facebook, all the rules to enter.
Oh, the autographed Andy Shaver picture.
That's stupid. I'm not doing that. Head over to our Facebook right now. All the ways that you enter this contest are laid out there. So
on the Big Honker Podcast
Big Honker Podcast Facebook page. Head over to
the private group or just the page?
Just the page.
Okay, so you don't have to be. I'm going to share it onto the group page too.
Sure, go ahead.
And I'll share it on my personal page.
That's very nice of you. But anyway, it's a cool giveaway for Father's Day. Get entered into it, and hopefully we'll see you out here in November.
And then we've got a really cool giveaway when we come back from vacation after Father's Day. We will have another really cool giveaway. That's really another really cool one. We'll have some giveaways this summer. Thank y'all for listening to us. We appreciate it. Season 3 of the first family of waterfowl will drop right before we go to Squad Fest in late July in St. Louis. Come by and see me and Andy at Boss at St. Louis, or come by and see me and Andy at the Delta in Baton Rouge the week after in July. Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Have a great, wonderful weekend or week. This comes out on Monday, right? Have a good week. Be safe, my friends. Clay Reed will be in the studio for the next dropout, so we will be having a Coyote Man episode next week also. Thank you. Peace. Bye.
Love you. Bye. Watch for deer. Check out all of our sponsors. Go check out Mallard Bay, Mossberg, Stanfield Outfitters, Alpha Outdoor Specialties, Hemp Hill Farm. Use our promo code BHP25. Mitch Hall, Double T British Kennels, Ducks Unlimited, Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Shin Gear, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls, BHP25, Dirty Duck Coffee, Boss Shot Shells, and MLR Graphics.